Hello, Clods. Welcome to another episode of the Crystal Them's a Steven Universe rewatch podcast. I'm Liz, and with me, as always, luckily, thankfully, happily, I have Squid or Sid.
Hello, I am Squid. I'm also Sid. Pick your poison,
Just Sid Squid.
whichever one. Sid Squid.
So today, I really like this episode. I've kind of forgot how much I really like this episode.
I love this episode. This is the episode that made me fall in love with Pearl. Like that, she became my favorite character after this episode.
It made me appreciate Pearl more. Definitely more than I was before. And if you're wondering what episode we're talking about, we are talking about season 1, episode 16, Stephen and the Sword Fighter. And this is the episode where disaster strikes when Pearl shows Stephen her sword fighting skills.
Yeah. This episode aired April 9th in 2014. It is number 13 in production code, despite airing as the 16th episode. And it was written and storyboarded by Joe Johnston and Jeff Liu and had 1.098 million US viewers upon air.
Oof.
So we're
I
dipping
was gonna,
down in the numbers a bit again, but still a good amount.
it's still a lot of people.
Still a lot of people. I mean, a million people is not anything to shake at.
No, definitely not. But we start this episode off in a very different manner.
That's right. We do have the rainy day title card, but we start, because it's a rainy day title card, inside. It's raining.
With no laundry.
Yeah. No long I mean it yeah, I would believe Pearl took the laundry in because it was raining and don't want
I mean, there's
I
still
just
a
washed them.
basket sitting there.
Oh, you're right, actually.
I think it's because
Forgive me.
Pearl, well, I mean, kind of spoiler, but by now you should be used to it because Pearl gets shattered. Not shattered, but poofed.
Poofed.
So
She's
she's
not
not there
there.
to do the laundry.
Yeah. The baskets are just there full of clothes with no one to wash them or hang them up.
Yep. But yeah, it's a rainy day on the beach. And because it's a rainy day, Lion is chilling outside. Very cute. But the rest of the group is inside watching crazy dubbed or crazy subbed samurai movies, which I love.
Mhm. They're
Ju-
perfect. I love just crazy dub movies. The audio and soundscape, everyone who does them is clearly putting their whole heart into it. And
mhm.
two, they're always so fun. They're just a fun level of absurdism where I go, I do want to watch this man do a triple backflip and then slash someone in half with a sword and then start crying because it rains. Thank you for that. That's what I came here
Yes,
for, actually.
100%. I mean, I have just started watching more Godzilla, like OG Godzilla films.
Oh yeah.
Just perfection.
Yeah, it's good. But they are watching Lonely Blade 4, a Japanese movie with the titular character, Lonely Blade, who is a samurai being tricked or surprised that the janitor is actually evil.
And Kristen to be alone forever.
Exactly. And this is the moment I love because Pearl just immediately clocked. She's like, "Of course, this was the plot. He's on the cover of the movie and he's been in the background of every scene," which I fully relate to as someone who got in trouble a lot for spoiling movies by just going, "But they've been here the whole time and they keep setting this up." That's the
Yep.
character who's bad.
I just had that happen to me with a show I watched where I guessed a big thing happened very early on, and still heartbreaking, still cried, but
Oh yeah.
it happened, and I was more like vindication, a la
Yes.
Brooklyn 99. But so Pearl is very much like offended by this sword fighting.
Yeah. I mean, if you've ever watched any of it's not real sword fighting. He takes 2 katanas and sticks them together at the ends to make a double-edged sword, which
It's boomerang sword.
excuse me, a boomerang sword, which just can't be real. But that's not what you come to these movies for. You don't come to them for accurate sword fighting. You come because I wanna watch 2 guys jump into the air and sword fight each other while hanging in the air the whole time. They're not
Yeah,
magic. The movie's made it clear they're not magic, so I don't understand how they're hanging in the air for an hour straight. Have fun. Do whatever you want. This is amazing.
it's called skills.
Exactly. I'm just not as skilled with the blade, so I can't know how to, hang into the air for hours.
Exactly. Can I just note, I love that Steven is fully just laying on top of Garnet's head because Garnet turns to look at Pearl at one point and Steven turns with her.
Yeah. He's just whole
Like,
weight rested on Garnet.
whole way. But then Pearl is like, "Oh, if you ever actually want to see real sword fighting, I will show you." And Steven's face, because he grabs her head to make her look, and he is just like star-eyed, too excited for words.
Yeah. I mean, you told a 12-year-old boy that he could learn about swords and sword fighting, which is the most exciting thing. He's like, "We gotta drop everything right now. We're going up to the Cloud City to the Cloud Arena so that we can sword fight."
Yeah,
It's
which is
also sunny in the
appropriate.
Cloud Arena, and I'm choosing to believe that it's just higher than the rain clouds. That it's still raining for everyone else, but they just went above where the rain clouds are.
Oh, I would assume that. That makes sense to me. Now, because the Cloud Temple is how it's technically classified or labeled,
Mhm.
the statues are supposed to be the diamonds, right?
Yes. So, Claudes, we had a whole aside when we were watching the episode of trying to figure out what those statues are for, what the words on them say, what they mean. And through some digging and some listening to the Scruniverse podcasts and Zines, we were able to get some information, and that initially, at least for the Stephen and the Sword Fighter, they weren't as concrete on what they were supposed to be, just because it was the first season and the team didn't really have 100% set on what they wanted these to be
Hmm.
just yet. So they did have a gem language that they were working on in Steven Universe. These original ones, let me grab the name. I don't
You kept saying we. This was all you doing research.
fair. Well, you were there supporting me emotionally, but there are four pillars in the temple, and they do share copied symbols. They're not 100% identical, and then some of the pillars are broken in half, so it's unclear. And each one has there are 8 symbols or 8 sides in total, so 8 phrases. Most of them are nearly identical, so it's hard to tell exactly what they're supposed to be. And because this is the first time we ever see gem language, it's unclear on what exactly it is. But we do know that this is canonically gem language. It was the original language I'm trying to find because this wasn't Rebecca's invention yet. So they take what they get from this episode and sort of recontextualize it after these episodes. So after Steven and the Sword Fighter, or sorry, this is yeah, Steven and the Sword Fighter. That's the name of this
Yeah, you're
episode.
right.
Um, but in this episode, we don't get much. Later on, when we come back to this temple in Sworn to the Sword, we get more concrete information that these are supposed to be. Each pillar is the diamond, and the words on the side. We don't get an exact translation, but we know that they're supposed to reference each diamond. And given that all four of them at least have like one or two symbols that are copied over, it would make sense that that's just the word for diamond, likely. So,
Hmm.
like, this is yellow diamond, so part of it might be yellow, but the word for diamond at least seems to be consistent throughout all of them. We don't know exactly what they say outside of that, but I mean, it's called a temple. It's still technically a battle arena of some kind. All of the gems, or sorry, all of the diamonds seem to be holding something, which I imagine is whatever kind of weapon they either are associated with or can summon. We've never seen them do so, but that would make sense to have each of these be the diamonds and then just
It would
be,
make
oh,
sense.
this is where they fight, this is where we train for them, this is where it's still sort of like they are a conquesting culture. They go and take over planets. So the idea that they highly value combat to the point of like deification and religious belief in the sense of a temple isn't a far stretch.
No, not at all.
Mhm.
And it's, I mean, the temple itself is giving very, very, very truncated, like Colosseum vibes for me. A little bit, you have like the stand seating and an open, granted most of the temples in disrepair and ruins, but you have, I mean, these could just be steps, but they could also be seats. And so it's a little Colosseum-y for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we know, or we don't know. We'll find later that w gems there are specific gems who are built to fight, but there are also specific gems who are built to lead fighters and strategize, like garnets specifically are generals. Same for
Hmm.
emerald, I believe. So the idea of having an area purely to watch how they train and how they fight, and teaching, court soldiers and amethysts and jaspers how to actually fight, and then getting to watch them do it, uh, seems like a level of interest that I think the gems would have.
Yeah.
It feels like the combat equivalent of the Sea Spire.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
Mhm. Where it's like, hey, we have the ceasefire is clearly for the intellectual thinky gems who want to learn things. This is for the combat gems who are here to fight.
Yes. And speaking of fighting, so Pearl walks up,
Mhm.
has two swords, is like, oh, I need someone to fight. Steven, sweet, sweet Steven, starts to put his hand up, and Garnet goes, no,
Yeah, just quietly doesn't say anything, just pushes his hand down, which
no.
correct.
And then Pearl summons a hollow Pearl
Mhm.
to
Which
help her
she does a
show
little
off.
dance.
Hmm.
She does a little dance while she's doing that, and I'm choosing to believe the whole dance we got in Lars and the Cool Kids was leading up to this, of how
Yes.
Pearl gets things from her gems.
Yes. But then we kind of look over, and Amethyst is just being a Goku on a cloud.
Mhm.
This episode had a lot of, I felt like, references to like pop culture in a way.
It has a lot of anime and Japanese references. I feel like Rebecca's weeb side is coming out. I feel actually all
Very.
of all of the writers and artists, their weeb side is showing a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, Amethyst is on a cloud. In this battle that's going to take place between Hollow Pearl and Pearl, I got Link versus Shadow Link vibes from Ocarina of Time. Because the whole fight, and for anyone who hasn't played it or is too young to know what this is, great Legend of Zelda game.
Oh
But
yeah.
anytime you make a move, the Shadow Link does the same move, which is kind of what you get for a little bit. Is they're like doing the same moves back and forth.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I mean, the whole episode, I feel like you're correct. This is definitely Link and Shadow Link, and it's just the vibes of the episode is people just showing what their inspirations were. I mean, even the
Yeah,
Lonely Blade to an extent of like
yeah,
that got a lot of people, I'm sure, into, you know, either animation or movies in general, and like what was a driving force likely for for getting into certain content. We do
yes.
see at the fight scene. I like watching Pearl fight. She's so good at it.
Oh, and I mean, it's very much a dancer fighting,
She's a ballerina, and that's incredibly clear. And she uses that to her advantage when fighting.
100%.
She must have been a menace on the battlefield, because I imagine homeworld gems are not used to fighting pearls. I mean, pearls don't fight at all, so they wouldn't have any kind of expectation of her fighting style.
Yes, I agree, and especially how she is so just like dancy.
Yeah,
Uh, it's it had to be quite the scene, really,
yeah,
because it is just kind of the best,
yeah.
like
It
kind
is.
of the best.
But we do, Pearl is obviously, as I said, good at what she does. So the fight doesn't last super long.
No,
because, well, it doesn't last super long, but the Hollow Pearl sort of applauds Pearl for her abilities, and Steven, of course, in the background is yelling, saying, "Go Pearl." Amethyst says, "Go Hollow Pearl,"
Hollow
which
Pearl.
distracts Pearl enough that she looks away and her Hollow Pearl disarms her.
Yeah. But don't worry. Regular Pearl won't be stopped.
Exactly. She
Immediately does like a flip. Immediately does like a cool little flippy flip and rolls away and gets her sword back.
Mhm. And then while Hollow Pearl was taking the opportunity to try and do a downward swing, Pearl, bashes her out of the way into the air and then stabs at the Hollow Pearl, which sends her rolling. And since she's not a real person, doesn't die immediately, but this would be a killing blow. So Hollow Pearl announces that she's defeated.
Yes. Challenger wins.
Mhm. Which Steven is so excited about, and he can't. He just rushes over to tell Pearl that she's amazing, and Pearl is so flustered.
It's
She,
so cute.
yeah,
And he wants
and
to learn, but of course, in true like kid fashion, he wants to learn the cool moves, not the basic steps.
yeah. I want to learn the advanced boomerang blade and not how to hold a sword, which is step one.
Yeah, not the motion of parry, parry, thrust, parry. And he slowly loses his excitement and just starts asking when he can learn the cool stuff, and then trauma happens.
Yes. Pearl is distracted, talking to Steven, telling him those cool moves aren't real moves and you need to learn the basics first and general like safety and genuine teacher things. And because she's distracted, she doesn't notice when Hollow Pearl goes parry, parry, thrust straight through Pearl's chest
And you
slash
just
stomach
see the
area.
shadow at first of the sword through Pearl.
Yeah, it's definitely traumatic for Steven. And like Pearl is clearly hurt by it. She gets stabbed through. You see that shadow. She drops her sword. Garnet and Amethyst get up and are like, "Oh no!" And
Yeah,
Steven
and
is
then
crying.
crying, and then she poofs
Yeah,
and her gem falls. And obviously they haven't if they have been hurt enough, it's usually not when he's with them. So he's never seen this. So he assumes that Pearl's dead, but of course, Amethyst and Garnet are like, no, no, no. When we're severely injured, we pretty much drop our bodies and just go back into our gems. So she'll regenerate. And of course, I say of course a lot. Steven assumes it'll be like 5-10 minutes, and then we get the card 2 weeks later.
yeah, just a full 2 weeks. Which, oof. I imagine it's been a while since Pearl has been poofed. So
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just taking her a while. Either that or my sillier headcanon is she spent that entire 2 weeks trying to decide on an outfit and forgot what was happening.
Oh, I can't imagine there's a like way to have a sense of time.
Yeah, not really. I
There
do
can't
also
be there's not like a clock on the wall.
no. I mean, if there was, Pearl would have it, so I imagine they must not have one.
Yeah.
I I do also love because Pearl tried to make Steven feel better, saying, "Hey, everything's gonna be okay," but poofed mid-sentence because, of course. And I really like the way Garnet and Amethyst talk to Steven about what happens. Like they do a very good job of introducing him to the concept of gems not dying permanently, but what poofing means. And they're very careful and sensitive with him. They don't like brush it off or say she'll be fine. They're genuinely there to help him feel better.
And they don't and Amethyst doesn't make a joke of it or anything.
Hmm. Like
Just is it's okay, bud.
yeah, the biggest joke she makes is that oh, this usually happens to me, not the others, which even still is very serious of like, "Hey, this is a thing that's happened before, you don't have to be concerned, I'm still here and this has happened to me regularly, so clearly
Mhm.
Pearl's gonna be okay."
Yes. So Steven, adorable. He sets up a like little basket with a blanket and then turns on a light.
Confirmation
It's
that Pearl is a bird.
just a bird. just a giant bird, and then it pulls away, and you see that the house is trashed.
It is a mess, which
Yes.
even Amethyst points out that she loves what Steven's done with the place, which is have it a mess. And Steven's like, "Well, usually Pearl helps me with this," which I love as further confirmation of the previous episode where Garnet said, "I'm not cleaning this up." Clearly, Garnet does not clean. That is
No,
not
not at all.
something she does.
Garnet just, like, walks away from it all.
Mhm. I do love I paused it at just the right time because I wanted to know. I was like, "Where did Garnet go?" Amethyst is here. She still has her cloud. She clearly just took one and has been floating around on it the whole time. I didn't
Yeah, I would
realize
too.
in the background, you can see Garnet just went to her room. They came in on the warp pad, and Garnet immediately turned around and went to her room. She's like, "I want no part of this."
Garnet's, like, not in charge of this cleaning.
No. Also, did the thing of if you stick around while there's a mess, someone will ask you to clean. So you just leave. Just leave as fast as possible.
It's the way to do it. I don't see the problem.
Yeah, but there's a little bit of I mean, it's not super messy to be fair. There's an empty pizza box on the ground and like some clothes and a knocked over chair, but it's not crazy.
I mean, there's some plates and books
Yeah.
and
It's mostly
obviously
like a 12-year-old
I love
boy
that
was left alone.
yes, I love Steven's shirt and, like, pants are just hanging out here,
Yeah. Like he didn't put them away or he just took them off and went, "Well, I don't know where the laundry basket is, so it's
and
going
there's
on
a
the floor."
sock hanging on the lamp. I assume he probably just kicked it off in his room and it fell on the lamp.
Oh, yeah.
But next to the lamp, you see a sheet that has feet.
Yes, it's weird, like a person standing there and we, get sort of an explanation where Steven says, "Hey, if real Pearl isn't here, there's always the next best thing," and pulls the sheet off to reveal Hollow Pearl, still with the sword in hand.
And asking if he wants to have combat. And Amethyst is like, that's not Pearl.
She's like, "Put that thing away. It's not Pearl." And Steven's like, "Well, it's like her. Maybe I can get it to act like her."
And then you have, I don't think we discussed this a little bit while watching. I don't think we've had a little star swipe in the
Yeah,
middle of an episode before like that.
I think it's our first transition where we have a star wipe, not to end the episode, but just to move somewhere else, going, "Okay, scene is over. Moving on."
Yeah. So we get Steven's room that has, because he has to have ants or mice in this place.
I
Because there's
mean,
just a box of cookies next to this N64.
yeah. Well, see, it's only been 2 weeks, so it might not have been long enough for him to get ants or mice, especially there's not that many mice, like, on the like, where I don't think there'd be that many mice if he's on a beach
Oh, I guess
and
I've
in
never
the
lived on
town.
a coastal area.
I mean, that's not to say there's none, but it's hard to find them at the beach. You just go, "Okay, well, they're gonna drown, so they usually don't come here."
Probably they live in Amethyst's room,
Also, that too. I mean, Steven's room is a mess, but have you considered Amethyst's room, which is a safe haven for rats and mice? And
and they probably just scampered out one time and she came out and have found other food.
exactly. So I think they're fine. But also, I don't know. The thing, Steven has a lot of stuff on the floor, but it doesn't seem messy. Like there's not stuff ground into the floor. More just, I think he ate something, put it down, and will probably come back to it later. Also,
Yeah, he got distracted.
not as an insult, but Steven is 100% the kind of kid who would eat food off the floor. Like, oh, I spilt this. That's just food for later.
Oh, yeah,
That's listen. As long as it's not dirty, it's still a snack.
which, that's fine. Live his
Yes,
best life. But then we see, he points out this is a mess. There's also these like four toys that definitely don't look like any
that's
any current anime or game franchises.
that's definitely not Pikachu, and that's definitely not Sonic.
Right, that's definitely not Cloud.
That's not Cloud.
And then
That's not Hero.
yeah, like oh,
Well, actually, checking the wiki, which everyone should, the one of the characters is from Ian Jones Cordy's webcomic, RPG World.
I liked that.
The
That they
the,
kind of
um
added that in.
yeah, the one with the guitar, that is from Ian Jones Cordy's webcomic.
Love that.
Yeah, so there's Pikachu, the one from Ian Jones Cordy's webcomic, Sonic the Hedgehog, but specifically Sanic from the Gotta Go Fast meme. Sanic, Sank, and
Sanic.
obviously Cloud. So the toys, I do also like that Pearl organizes them. Like she has a system for organizing Steven's toys
It
by
tracks.
type. So animal, humanoid, miscellaneous.
I love it that it's she puts him up on the windowsill so nice.
I also love that Steven remembered.
He does remember. Shows that he appreciates. So he holds up Cloud and Hollow Pearl just sees a sword and stabs the figure.
Yeah, which not my Cloud,
Not
not Cloud
not
Strife.
Cloud. Not
Give
Cloud.
give me my you broke my toy.
So mean.
Incredibly mean. While that's happening, we cut to outside, which I love.
I
Amethyst
love
and
the
Garnet.
Chaos Crew because there's not an adult babysitting the children.
Exactly, which is hilarious because like Garnet is supposed to be the adult, and it's just going, no, this is actually super fun.
Oh,
Um,
you know for a fact, Garnet constantly eggs Amethyst on to do stuff
mhm.
that like she knows won't like end up poorly, but just like eggs Garnet a little bit to do stuff because Amethyst is holding a cloud. He's like, I'm gonna do it, and Garnet's like, come on, do it then.
Which I feel like this is you're right. I'm imagining they're on a mission. Amethyst is doing something dumb. Garnet silently eggs Amethyst on, and then when Pearl turns around to go, "Hey, don't do that. Why would you do that?" Garnet goes, "Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh
have any
yes.
influence on why you did this at all."
None. Or points out things that would obviously convince Amethyst to do something silly.
Yeah, Amethyst, don't look at this pressure plate that's going to make the ceiling fall down. Don't look at it.
Don't look at that cloud just floating around because then Amethyst eats it.
Yeah, she just eats it, which I wish I knew what clouds taste like.
I imagined like atmosphere.
Mhm. True. And also the texture. Would they be like cotton candy, or would they be watery or crunchy, as it seems to be in Amethyst's case,
Yes. Uh,
like
and then
ice?
also in Amethyst, it might be icy. I feel like it'd be like breathing in a really thick mist.
Mm, yes.
But Amethyst puffs up and starts to float away.
The cloud just expands inside her, which is hilarious and also confusing. How do gems work?
I don't understand how gems work, but Garnet just grabs Amethyst's foot, and then you see Steven and Hollow Pearl, and it's like, oh, Pearl teases Amethyst when she does silly things, and Hollow Pearl now has an umbrella instead of a sword.
Mhm. And she uses that and says that she's being challenged, which, given that Garnet is holding Amethyst in the air, I wonder if she's assuming Amethyst is the weapon. Just your sword, Amethyst.
I think so because Hollow Pearl points the umbrella up at Amethyst like you would like put your sword against another sword.
Yeah, so Garnet is the challenger and Amethyst is the weapon.
Yeah.
I really like because during this moment, Amethyst says, "Why are you still hanging out with that thing?" And Garnet also calls it a thing and an it. And I wonder if Hollow Pearl must be so uncanny for the gems because we we don't know this now in the show, but we find out. And actually, we don't really ever find out in great detail in the show. But the gems are computers; like they don't have bodies. It's just that they're how their gem works, and then they have a light projection body. Their entire body is made out of light, even though it's
Yes.
somehow also solid. And I imagine a hologram must be so uncanny for them. And the same with just triggering the uncanny valley or making them feel uncomfortable because they're light-based beings and this light hologram is just walking around like a real person. It must feel weird.
I imagine it is very weird because also, I mean, the fact that it hasn't disappeared, even though Pearl has.
Yeah,
So it's
which
kind of like, it's also this separate entity from like unnatural because you would think that she would disappear when Pearl disappeared, but obviously didn't.
mhm, that shocked me that she didn't immediately
Didn't
disappear
poof
when
away.
Pearl. Yeah, which again adds to my not theory, but the mounting evidence that Pearl was a menace on the battlefield. Because if she summoned a bunch of hollow pearls, gave them swords made by bismuth, and then if she poofed, they're still here, nightmarish.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's terrifying.
And they all have her level of training, so it's not like they're incompetent. And it's just a
No,
bunch of pearls.
yeah, they're skilled. They're skilled fighters.
Yeah, a bunch of skilled fighter pearls with magic weapons who are also visually uncanny to gems and might seem off. Feels like something soldiers would whisper about in the future where they go, and I saw this monster on the battlefield and it was a hologram
Yeah,
or like a zombie, like a not quite human in their perspective who could cut people
yeah,
down and didn't die because they can't poof. The holograms don't poof at all. Even when attacked, I mean, Pearl was able to stab Hollow Pearl earlier, that's how she won her fight, and nothing happened. Hollow Pearl just fell down.
I mean, she kind of like she wavered a little bit.
Mhm. She did glitch out, but she still kept solid
Glitch, that's the
form.
word I'm looking for.
Yeah, but she still kept her solid form, unlike Pearl, who got stabbed once and then poofed.
Yes,
Granted, fatally, but it it
it's
feels like the Hollow Pearls could at least take a couple hits before being
poofing.
poofing, which a couple hits is really all you need to survive on the battlefield. If your enemy's close enough to stab through your chest and you're still alive, I feel like you can win that fight then.
That'd be terrifying.
Also just horrifying to go, I cut this person in half and they're still moving. I don't why I don't want to fight the crystal gems. They're committing crimes I never even thought of. We don't even have the word for war crimes yet. There's
That
no
would be
Geneva
truly
Convention.
terrifying.
Yeah. I'm imagining a poor ruby soldier trying to fight a hollow pearl and it just keeps getting up.
And they're like, "Please stop.
Please. I
Why
don't want to
won't
do
you
this.
die?"
I don't want to be here anymore. I quit. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go fight someone else.
Oh, that's funny. That'd be truly funny.
Yeah. But
Speaking of going somewhere else, oh, see that
yeah,
segue?
love that segue.
Steven took Hollow Pearl to the boardwalk and got her a crown and a balloon sword, and he got a cute little walrus.
Yeah. It's I whoever's doing balloon animals and balloon swords and hats. Also the balloon hat has a little duck on it. I need one desperately.
I can try and make you one. I, for a very, very short amount of time, was I was actually pretty okay at making balloon art.
Ooh.
Uh, I do it for kids I babysat, and then in college for, I don't know, some event, there was a guy teaching people, and he was like, "Oh, if you're looking for a job, I can hire you. You can do this at parties." And I, at the time, had like 3 jobs, and I was like, "No, I can't do that." Uh, but for a fairy, I almost became a balloon artist.
I mean, that sounds so fun and so
Maybe I
cool.
can try and remember how to do that. I can make you a duck crown.
Yes. Also,
I
you've
had to like
inspired me.
hand pump and everything.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You've inspired me. I need to learn balloon art.
We can learn together again.
Yes. You can
We
teach
can
me
learn
balloon art.
together.
I'll teach you close up magic. whatever I remember.
Amazing. Will be a dynamic duo.
Yes, exactly. But the other dynamic duo that we see on the screen with, Steven and Hollow Pearl,
Our segues today.
they're amazing. S-
Amazing.
Yeah. But Steven took Hollow Pearl to apparently Pearl's favorite place, which is a tree on a hill with pink leaves slash
Hmm.
flowers, which
Okay.
definitely doesn't have any significance for how Pearl feels
No,
about anything.
not at
But
all.
Steven's asking Hollow Pearl, if she recognizes it. She doesn't even respond. I guess she assumed that the walrus was a weapon because she again says, "Do you want to engage in combat?" and tries to attack Steven. He gets out of the way and she cuts down the tree with a balloon sword, which is insane.
I mean, we moving fast to do that.
Exactly, that's fat. And the balloon doesn't pop. It's fully perfectly fine. And the tree is cut in half in the stump. And Steven looks upset. He's like, oh no, the tree, which, this is Pearl's favorite spot, and Hollow Pearl has destroyed it.
Yeah, just like she destroyed regular Pearl.
Yeah.
And
And
Steven runs away.
yeah, he's genuinely upset. He's saying, real Pearl would never do that. You're hopeless. And he just, says, get away from me and just runs off because he's really sad.
Yeah, and he just goes back to Pearl's Pearl and is like, "Hey, I have the fifth Lonely Blade. We can watch this together." And
Hmm.
nothing happens. And so he gathers up Pearl and balances impressively balances the VHS. I assume it's a VHS, or do you think it's a DVD?
Oh, that's definitely. I mean, they have a VHS player, and I
So yeah,
mean,
VHS.
yeah, and it's in a VHS box. I mean, so yeah, he's
I wasn't
watching
sure if it
Lonely
was like a
Blade.
DVD box because, like, I have my Lord of the Rings copies are the
Mhm.
extended DVDs, and they have a box that thick.
True. It's but the thing that gets me is it's open at the bottom, which makes me think that's
Oh, I
VHS
didn't see
only.
that, but I mean, VHS is the way to go. I have a VHS player still, and I love it.
Yeah, but he balances his popcorn and Pearl and the Lonely Blade movie and goes upstairs. It is also raining again, so it's, raining and cold, and the Hollow Pearl won't stop asking him if he wants to engage in combat.
Yeah, and Pearl and Steven yells, "Leave real Pearl and me alone!" And it's like,
Yeah,
"Get back under your sheet."
and just throws the sheet on her, but her eyes are still visible through it, which
Not creepy.
not creepy at all.
So we get another snippet of Lonely Blade, and then Steven looks over and Hollow Pearl is standing right there.
Mhm. I do love that the scene in Lonely Blade is two brothers fighting and arguing only for one of them to realize that they're not a real person, which is just what's
Hmm,
happening with Pearl and Hollow Pearl.
seems familiar.
Very familiar.
Hmm.
But
So Steven tries to ignore, and then, Hollow Pearl sees the sword fighting on the screen and stabs the TV.
mhm. I do like that before that Steven's trying to watch the movie, but he can't because he keeps thinking of Pearl getting stabbed. Just the sight of swords is, he's got PTSD. It's really making him think about the fact that Pearl died. Well, in his
Right.
eyes, died.
And I think guilt because he was the one who was talking about this boomerang blade and all that jazz,
Mhm.
which, and then she got stabbed.
Yeah, and I think it's just it's getting to him.
Yeah, which, oh, buddy,
Yeah, but
buddy.
and also what he says really touches on that because after Hollow Pearl breaks the TV, he goes, "Why must you destroy the things I love?"
Yes. I want to throw out a really great background thing of he has glow stars on his wall,
Oh, that's
and
so cute.
the color of animation actually looks like they're glowing compared to everything else. And then in the far right hand corner, you can kind of see it when Hollow Pearl stabs the TV. There's a robot that kind of looks like the robots from Castle in the Sky that are up on Lapis, or not Lapidus, right? Yeah, Lapidus, I think. That's a good Miyazaki. But yeah, you can it definitely looks like one of the very long-armed uh robots from Castle in the Sky.
Oh, I love I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I caught it really quickly when we were watching it and I made a note. And I was like, "Hey, I love the star details because it's like on the wall."
Mhm.
My nerdy booty could not. I don't think there were any specific pattern. I think there were just a couple on the wall.
Yeah. I mean, just, wherever Steven can reach, and Pearl
Right.
lately.
Exactly. Wherever they can. Actually, I feel like that's a Garnet thing. Like
Ooh, or
Steven and Garnet put them up.
oh, I would believe that. Just wherever the
Like
2
maybe Steven got scared at night one night,
oh,
and so Garnet got the little glow stars and put them up there with him.
that's the cutest image you've put into my head.
Ever. Please, an artist, please draw that.
Please and thank you. Would be
Just
amazing.
a little itty bitty Steven.
Putting up stars with Garnet. It's her weakness, tiny hands.
Tiny hands. So Steven's mad and pushes Hollow Pearl, which immediately Hollow Pearl takes as fight.
Yeah. And then I like that or I Steven's upset. Like he has tears in his eyes and he yells before he pushes. He's yelling at Hollow Pearl saying, "Real Pearl is kind and considerate and cares about me and all you want to do is fight me." Which is also what brings in that challenge, and I like that early Steven got to be a kid, like, he got to be an angry kid sometimes before he started feeling that pressure of being a crystal
Yeah.
gem and being like Rose. He's just a normal kid. He cried, he got upset, he didn't feel the need to hide his emotions. Things
Yeah.
that made him mad would be, like, expressed.
I know they do that so well in this show
Mhm.
is
It's
they allow Steven to be a kid despite the fact that he's obviously more than that.
mhm. They also do a really good job of making that progression really slow to when he feels like he can't share those emotions because I'd completely forgotten in the early seasons that he got to be a kid because later on Steven is just a crystal gem and he feels like he has to be perfect and he has to be like his mom, he has to be like Rose and
Yeah.
he has to solve everyone's problems and he definitely bottles things up a lot. I mean, to the point that in future we get the entire finale because of that. That's half of a
Yes.
lot of future is because Steven kept bottling things up. And it's refreshing or interesting to see that yeah, in the early seasons before he became a full-fledged crystal gem, he didn't have those concerns. He's just a kid who yes, he has magic, but he also has his emotions and gets to use them and gets to express that this is how I feel.
Yes, and they do such a wonderful job having that slow progression because I feel like that's actually what happens in real life. Like
Mm,
it's not just one moment you're a kid and next moment you're an adult. It's you slowly, I feel like maybe at one point we all have the ability to express how we feel. And then as we go through experiences and other situations and life things that happen, you just slowly start bottling things up,
mhm. Yeah.
whether, for a whole bunch of different reasons. And I mean, the show, I feel, to me, depicts childhood really well that way.
It does. It does a really good job because there are a lot of moments when you're a kid where you don't really have concerns about the things that the adults in your life are going through. And I
Hmm.
think it also does a good job of expressing this thing that happens a lot in childhood, which is when you're a kid, you don't know how other people are feeling, and other people don't show vulnerability. Like when you're young, a lot of people, especially the adults in your life, will not show that they're vulnerable or having a hard time, which makes it such a weird whiplash as you start getting older and start seeing the adults in your life struggle. And they're like, hey, you're older now, so you can see what I'm going through.
Hmm.
I'm not perfection. I'm not a bastion of strength. I'm having problems and those things that you thought I was always perfect and good at, I'm actually never been good at and I'm having a very hard time even keeping myself together. And
Yeah.
it when you're a kid, especially if you learn that too early, which I think does happen to Steven, he starts the gems really early on. The moment that he becomes a crystal gem, put him into the position of having to know all of their struggles, which he's too young to get, you start thinking, "Oh, I have to be better now. Like, I have to show that I can handle this level of adulthood that they're presenting to me as a kid because you're clearly struggling. I'm 13, so I now have to be an adult because you are having a hard time, so I need to be the person stepping up to match where you're at." Which the
Yeah.
show really shows, like, how Steven has to go through that because, yeah, he starts out as a kid, but the moment he's let in on these sort of adult conversations and it's made clear to him that no one is together, no one knows what they're doing, and they're all having a terrible time emotionally, Steven is forced to sort of emotionally grow up and have to be the person who's keeping things together, who's the center of the gems and having to be who they need, not who he wants to be. Like he has to be meeting their needs and not meeting his own.
Yes. 100%.
Mhm. But
Yeah,
in these
yeah.
early episodes, he doesn't have that.
He doesn't have that. He's just a goofy little kid.
Yeah. Instead here, he's a goofy kid, and he's a kid who's very upset right now because not only is Pearl gone, and I think Pearl is definitely the person he turns to the most emotionally.
Yes.
She's gone, and the thing that took her away won't leave him alone.
Because it's kind of his fault.
Yep, and then the guilt he feels of, "It's my fault that Pearl is gone, and you're here as nothing but a reminder that she's, gone."
Yes. Yeah.
Mm,
Poor Buddy.
right. Yeah, but then to your point, he does, shove the hollow pearl, and she initiates basic attack mode, so parry, parry, thrust, and Steven defeats her by throwing 4 of his toys at her. So he, hits the parry, parry, and thrust, and she blocks those. And then his 4th toy, Cloud, again hits her in the head.
Yes. So, success.
Yeah, he won,
Then she goes into advanced technique,
which dangerous for the small boy.
which is just sword fighting.
It just trying to kill him with a
Yes. So
real
he,
sword.
with a real sword, so he jumps down and she follows and tries to like stab him from above. And he starts looking around at what to grab. He's like, fuzzy pillow, cookies, flour, boomerang.
Yep, it's the boomerang blade. I
A
also
la,
oh,
go ahead.
mine is after the boomerang, but the way Hollow Pearl tracks it by turning her head a full 180,
Yeah.
or sorry, no, full 360, horrific. Hate
Yeah, don't
that.
like it. Don't like that. I was gonna say it's boomerang. I feel like definitely a call out to Avatar.
That's right, Sokka's boomerang.
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 Yeah, I don't like the head turn.
It's just I'm firmly on Amethyst and Garnet's side of the thing's creepy. Get it out of the house.
Thing's creepy. Boomerang does not work. It does what it's well, does not work as a weapon because it does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is fly around and come back.
Yeah,
So Steven decides to mop up the competition with mop.
just terrible. But
I
also
have a
he
question.
yeah,
Can you sweep the legs with a mop?
Claude, this is gonna be the last episode you hear. I'm done.
The crystal then has now been dissolved.
I can't do this anymore.
Just
Um,
like Pearl was stabbed, I stabbed the crystal thins. We shall now
I
poof.
I jail, 1,000 years jail for you. I I also he picks
I've
up
been waiting to say that to you for like 3 days.
he's disgusting. Steven picks up the mop, which also fun parallel again to Lonely Blade, because the villain was the janitor who used his mop, which secretly had a katana in it. Unclear how that works, but Steven now has another mop as a weapon.
That does not have a katana in it.
No katana. Also,
And
fun little
immediately gets
animation.
chopped down.
True. Fun little animation error that I found. I paused at the right frame. Um, when it cuts to Hollow Pearl looking at Steven while he's holding the mop. Part of her hand isn't filled in. It's just fully like the line art is there, but the fill for the colors are missing.
Oh.
Which I mean, it happens. It's only I think it's yeah, it's just one finger.
Oh,
So,
yeah, I see it. Oh, cool. Yeah, that is a ghost finger.
mhm. But in the next frame, it's fine.
Ghost finger!
Yeah. But Steven is trying to attack. Is he does block all of her sword attacks with the mop until it gets cut into pieces.
So it's cut into pieces, and then she starts thrusting and jabbing, and he dodges back and forth, and he admits that he should have waited.
Yeah. Which I imagine he had to have been the one to bring Hollow Pearl from the arena
Yes.
because I don't Garnet and Amethyst wouldn't. I wonder also she's incredibly glitchy during this fight. Because she's not a gem, it's just a hologram. I wonder if transporting by light really did mess up Hollow Pearl.
I would think so.
Like getting
Or I
your
wonder
light
it
rearranged would probably not go
would probably
well.
mess it up. I also wonder because she really starts hardcore glitching now, and we will find out in a moment that Pearl comes back. So I wonder if Pearl coming back was, like, taking the energy back?
Oh yeah. That I mean, I'd believe it.
I mean, because you could argue Hollow Pearl is kind of part of Pearl. It's like essence of Pearl.
Essence of Pearl.
Essence
That
of
is
Pearl
that is the name of my new
at
perfume.
Macy's. Yep, found at Macy's. Or SD Lauder was that, like, the big one was always around?
I think so. I don't remember.
I don't know. So I wonder if with her getting ready to regenerate, it's, like, pulling the energy back.
Hmm. I'd
Oh
believe
my
it.
god. So Steven is dodging and then admits that he should have waited for the perfect moment, and that's when he sees that Hollow Pearl is getting ready to thrust again, and he boomerang blades the mop.
Yeah, he did learn something from those sword fighting classes.
He did, he listened, and he beats Hollow Pearl because now there's just a mop sitting in the middle of her.
Just a mop hanging in her torso, which again, Hollow Pearl is a horror movie monster. Not even
Truly a horror movie.
they started with her as an anime antagonist and end it with her being a horror movie monster because
Yeah.
the mop is just sitting there and I'm only imagining a sword just hanging out in the glitching form and it's just floating there and a Hollow Pearl still keeps fighting and you go, terrifying.
This is not good.
This is
But
a monster.
Hollow Pearl asks Steven if you'd like to go again, and he grabs the mop from her and just starts mopping up the competition.
Oof. Just, gets all of the light sort of around her. He just sort of mops her and she disappears into little shimmers.
Yes, and then, we forgot to mention that Amethyst had floated away, so I feel like Garnet went to go get Amethyst back because the cloud probably returned back to the Cloud Temple.
Mm. Or I
So
think the cloud she ate
Garnet
was
went back.
probably that cloud.
Yeah, exactly. So it was probably returning back to the Cloud Temple
Oh, yeah, trying to
because
get back.
Amethyst floated away, so Garnet had to go get Amethyst
Oh, yeah, because
because
they
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 walk in from
rushed
the
it.
front door.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love the little string Garnet has tied around Amethyst's foot,
Yeah.
just fully a balloon.
You know what? It's probably Amethyst's favorite thing ever right now, to be honest.
I mean, it must be fun. But they pop in because they, heard fighting and wanted to check in on Steven, which very sweet.
Yes, very sweet.
Mhm.
And Steven's just surrounded by sparkles, and then this hollow starts to come back, and he swipes it back and starts cleaning, pretending to clean.
Yeah, he says, "Oh, I was just mopping," which I don't know why you're not telling them that Hollow Pearl was a threat. I don't
Yeah,
think
especially because
I
The kitchen cupboards are covered in stab marks.
I it's gonna be a nightmare to fix the kitchen. It's full of sword marks. She
Yeah.
messed up the counters. Those are
Yeah.
real marble. Why would you do this?
You know, Greg is just, they just call it Greg, and Greg's like, okay.
Mhm.
Let me grab the entirely new kitchen counter set I probably have in my storage unit.
Yes. Actually, I think this might be. I wonder if Greg's is hands on here, at least in the temple home, because I know they built this so Steven could have a place to live, but Greg doesn't come here, at least not in season one or so far. I wonder if he just doesn't know what the house looks like or what's going on in here.
Or maybe. That's a good point.
Just doesn't know what Steven's home
That
life is because he lives in his van.
he does at mostly at the car wash.
Mhm. And if there's a whole house that he can live with Steven at, I imagine even though it's connected to the gems, he could still live here.
He doesn't be that close to the magic. He's already
Well, yeah,
scarred,
that's true. But
literally.
literally. But yeah, Steven's mopping, not telling them that Hollow Pearl tried to kill him, which all right, but she did, and he just killed Hollow Pearl and is not letting her reform.
Nope. And
But
he's talking about how he's learned that you have to, wait and be patient, and then suddenly we hear a sound and a little light.
yeah, there's a glow in the background as Steven is trying to be mature, and we see Pearl's gem sort of float, and then it floats into the center of the room, and then light reforms around it to make Pearl's body. And I'm trying to go frame by frame so that I can see all of the forms. I like that the first one is just there's no details. It's just kind of puppety,
Yes.
which w- I think that's the default form for pearls. Or at least that's my headcanon because spoilers for the movie. When we get all the way to the end, the when we get to the movie, the gems are reset to their
Hmm.
base forms. And we see that, an amethyst and ruby, or sorry, not amethyst, sapphire and ruby, who get reset as separate gems, not garnet, have, solid forms. They have their clothes already. And the same for pearl, but amethyst has like segmented joints, like a doll. And I feel like pearls have the same thing. If you've ever seen those, not the segmented puppets, but porcelain dolls where they
Yes.
can't have segments, so instead they're all one continuous, really soft thing.
Hate him.
I feel like that's what Pearl is, and you just customize them. Especially when we with volleyball, when we get to see the area that pearls are customized at, and you go and you get your pearls custom made by a machine or some kind of
Hmm.
automated process. So I wonder if this is the base form of a pearl. It's
It might
just
be.
porcelain doll with no features.
Ugh, terrifying, but it probably is. I'd go with that.
And then you customize it based on, what do you need? Where's the gem placement gonna be? Yada yada.
Yeah.
I mean, that would
I like
track.
that. I like that idea. That's a very interesting. I would totally track. But the next form we see is from the unaired pilot, which we did on our not very first because that was us talking, but like our first episode was the unaired pilot.
Yeah. And then we get God, rewinding the scene is so hard. But
We
we
get
get
one where she has ankle warmers or leg
mhm,
warmers.
which I think is that we do see later on that Pearl was in the 80s.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering if that's her 80s one when she, became Rainbow Quartz for the first time. When we see that
yeah.
fusion, she had ankle warmers.
So that might be that one.
Hmm. And then we get her next design for or so we get the I think the order was promo design, then leg warmers, then her pilot design, and then
Yes.
her most recent.
Yeah, because Pearl's got a new fit.
Also makes it clear Pearl has not been pooped very often.
No, no, definitely not.
Yeah,
I like the new Pearl outfit. I honestly forgot that she got a new outfit so soon.
yeah, because she keeps it for a while.
Yeah, she keeps this for a long while.
Exactly. So I completely forgot that this was not the original outfit she starts with. I do
Same,
like
but
this one more.
I like this one more too. And
It feels more cohesive. I imagine it's easier to not have to keep doing the transparent skirt.
most likely, I 100% believe that 'cause I can't imagine that's fun to have to animate constantly.
Exactly. Going, here's her transparent skirt and her transparent little like shoulder top. It's going just going, wait, I don't want to keep doing this. Here's
Yeah,
solid colors.
solid, easy colors that we don't have to worry about showing things through.
Yeah. But
I appreciate that Pearl's the first one we see reform.
mhm. Even though Amethyst mentions being the one to get poofed most often, we don't see her reform.
No.
It's Pearl.
Yeah, and I like that it's Pearl. I feel like it has more emotional weight because it's Pearl.
Mhm. Because
Because
also
Pearl
Pearl,
does act like the mom.
yeah, acts like the mom, and also because Pearl is honestly the last one you would expect to get poofed. Like
Yes.
Amethyst getting poofed, it feels sort of like, well, Amethyst does a lot of reckless things, so that tracks. And then
Right.
Garnet getting poofed, I think would be surprising, but Garnet's also physically the strongest.
Yes.
So, and also can't get poofed because spoilers. So they're not gonna do that yet.
Whoop.
But it's also not something you expect to happen. Like Garnet, I don't think you would think could ever get poofed because she's so strong. Like that just isn't something that happens. And it's a real emotional moment the first time we see Garnet get poofed
Yes.
versus Pearl, which while mom character doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like she's like she can die, and that's the thing. Or
Yes.
poof, like it doesn't feel like it would be impossible for that to happen in the same way it would to Garnet.
Well, I mean, in a way, die.
Yeah, but yeah,
I
die in a
mean,
way. Like
because
Garnet
technically
cannot.
speaking, right, Garnet cannot, but like, oh, we don't know that yet. I mean, technically speaking, they do die
Mhm.
when they're poofed. It's just they don't stay dead.
Yeah.
So and it's, he's already lost one mom. So it kind of made sense to have the mom character of the group be the one to get poofed because it has more of that emotional weight to it.
Mhm. Yeah. It would be unfortunate and nightmarish to have lost both moms and feel like that's his fault
Both
for
times.
both times. Which also that might be why Steven also feels so guilty because this is, at least in his eyes, the second mom that's died because of him.
Oh, it's definitely the reason why he feels so guilty. Definitely.
This is round 2 nightmare mom round 2 Disney mom treatment.
Yeah, whew. We went for it. But Steven's getting ready to give a big life moment and goes, never mind, Pearl's back.
Yep. And then sees I love that Pearl immediately just is back and then looks around and goes, "What happened?"
Yes, but then she gets tackle hugged and Steven's like, oh, I had a plan. And bangs a pot with a tie on his head. And then Pearl's Amethyst and Garnet walk over. Pearl's like, I don't want to know what happened.
I know, she just looks directly at the floating amethyst and goes, "I don't even wanna know what this is."
And then we get just I don't know, this is my favorite line in the whole thing. And the way Amethyst lives, I got hit by an airplane. I don't know why that one gets me so much.
It's so funny. Also, rip to that airplane. What must they have been thinking? Just that poor pilot.
Oh, everyone on the airplane is scarred.
Yeah. I hope it was just the pilot who saw and not anyone in the plane, and the pilot saw that and was like, "I can't."
Oh, she rolled across the plane.
Yes.
She rolled down that plane.
Every single person going, I what? I have places to be. I can't think about it. It was just a bird, and that's what I'm gonna gaslight myself into thinking.
It's just like an Addams Family Values where they launch Pubert up and the family that's already been scarred sees them and they just close the window.
It's none of my business. Close.
Yeah. Oh, I was wrong. Steven ties his t-shirt around his head
That's right, yeah, t-shirt around the head, and he's just got a spoon and a
in a
pan
pot.
or a pot and just going, "Pearl's back, Pearl's back,"
Pearl's like, what happened to your room?
which yeah. You left him alone.
And then we just get the tired son goes, I'm never leaving again.
Yeah, I do like she just can't leave them alone because Amethyst doesn't clean and Garnet won't clean and Steven can't clean.
Steven starts Steven starts to and then immediately gets distracted by something he found.
Yep, he cleans and he goes, "Oh, this toy that I like. Well, I'm gonna go play with my toys again." And then I got hungry, so I got a snack. And then I went outside, and then he comes back inside and goes, "What was I doing? What was I don't know. I'm gonna watch this movie."
Yes, or he like is cleaning and then looks out and see Onion doing something. So he's like, I wonder what Onion's doing. And then goes out to see what Onion's doing and then Onion and him go and gallivant around and then he comes back and goes,
Mhm. And I imagine it's also a lot of like, "Hey, I came back, but I'm tired, and the house is mid clean. I simply will look at this later," and later becomes never.
yep, yep.
This is how I have to live with my cleaning. Just this is later's problem, and by later I mean never.
Yeah, I do the ADHD cleaning of I start and then I get very distracted and then I walk away and then I forgot I was doing it and I start half cleaning something else and then get distracted and
Mhm,
then my poor roommate comes home to like four different half done projects.
mhm.
Or I wait till she's almost home from work and then I guilt clean,
Yes,
which then I clean very fast.
I feel that. Listen, ignoring last time when I got distracted, if I know you're coming over, I'll clean because I'm like, someone's coming to my house. I have to clean now.
Oh yeah.
Someone will see
Oh,
this.
oh yeah.
Not including last time where I got very distracted.
I surprised you.
You surprised me by telling me multiple days in advance that you were coming and texting me an hour ahead of time.
I surprised you.
Surprised. But we, get our star wipe for the episode. We get our end of the episode star wipe on Pearl's face.
Looking exhausted.
Yeah. She knows there's a mess for her to clean. She's gonna have to figure out what to do, not just about the countertops, but also the cabinets, replacing the doors. Steven's gonna be all over her just because he's terrified that she's gone again. It's just she's gonna be exhausted.
She's like, "Oh, well, I think maybe I should
I'm gonna poof again.
I'm gonna poof again." That's all you need.
That's all you need, just for a snap.
That's all you gotta do.
That is the episode, Pods.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Hooray. I love this episode. As
I
I
love it.
mentioned, this is what made me love Pearl. She became my favorite character after this episode. She continues to be my favorite character. I love Pearl.
It made me appreciate Pearl more than I did before.
It made it clear she also does hold a lot of emotional weight.
Yes, a lot of emotional weight.
But I I mean, I love this episode and I love you, Claudes.
Oh,
Um
that was nice.
Thank you. I'm trying to I don't know how to close this. So bye. Claudes, here's some information, I guess.
But yeah, we have to poof away
There, that's better.
and take our break. Not we're not actually taking a break, but in this episode, so we can go and rest because fun life adventures,
Yes.
as always.
No, you can find us, wherever you get your podcasts as Crystal Thems Pod. Find us on Twitter at Crystal Thems Pod or Instagram at The Crystal Thems Podcast. Or send us an email at crystalthemspodcast@gmail.com. The intro and outro music is The Fey Mild by Arcane Anthems. Check out their Patreon for, more content, more songs, or to hear this song in full. And remember, you're one of us, Claudes. We wouldn't be the Crystal Thems without you.
Catch you on the flip side.